is just to be me, 'cause what I feel is
Macy
And Larry.
from Big Happy Love and the Love Advantage.
And Gary.
Today we wanted to talk about the inconvenience of dating and why that is actually really important to experience and why it's valuable.
Nice.
So if you are single and ready for love, this is really an important class for you. Inconvenience literally means trouble, right?
That's what the definition is.
Yeah, so
And we were thinking, when you think of dating, at least my experience with dating, you're thinking of composing long emails to someone who doesn't return your email, or you show up for a date and that person doesn't show up, or it's just about putting the time out there and maybe not necessarily feeling like your time is being used worthwhile.
right, I mean, it can feel like a hassle to respond to emails, a hassle to go out with someone that you don't know, because that can be really nerve-wracking, frustrating to have the courage to show up and be yourself. So it's really about how do you live and date wholeheartedly, because what the inconvenience is in dating is actually that experience of when we're up against triggers and blocks and neuroses and fears and frustrations that are just kind of a natural part of it. And what those things do, they actually tell us what it is that matters to us. So when you're following your heart, there are going to be moments where it's important to experience inconvenience and experience the pain of maybe communicating something that is hard to communicate, or
It's about pushing through blocks.
yeah,
It's about pushing through blocks, and it's about some of the pain of making changes. But when you're pushing through the blocks, you're learning a lot about yourself.
right.
And you can ignore or avoid those inconveniences, but then you're not learning those things that you really need to learn to move forward.
Right. And ultimately, if you are single and you're looking to find your special partner, it is a change. It's a big change. And our bodies are wired to respond to like wanting to kind of resist change. And if you're going from single to a couple, then that is a big change in your life. So it's natural to run up against those blocks. It's just a natural part of the experience. And often what happens is when we experience those inconveniences, it makes us want to give up. And ultimately, what we want to share tonight is that the inconveniences are actually something you want to lean into. You want to move through those, because if your vision is so strong, and that's another key point in finding true love, is that you have to have that really magnetic, amazing vision. Oftentimes, this is something you haven't had before. So we're asking you to do something. You're asking yourself to believe and have faith in something that you may never have experienced before. So in order to get there, you're going to have to behave in a way that you would to have that kind of relationship. And if you stay in the known, in what you're used to, then you're only going to get more of what you're used to. And what that can calculate to is just settling for the same thing you've always gotten. Like a lot of the women I work with are, really, a lot of times they'll say, well, this isn't the right time for me to look for a relationship. I'm not ready for this. You see women who want to have a baby. Oftentimes they'll say, oh, well, this isn't the right time to have a baby. But or this isn't the right time to do whatever it is you want to do, but it's never the right time. So the first thing you have to do is listen to your heart. And this is all about listening to your heart.
Mm-hmm. It is. And when you move through difficult emotions, inconvenience, fear, up against change, those kinds of things, then you are learning more about yourself. And ultimately, when you do find a meaningful relationship, you'll be able to express those feelings more clearly to your partner. If you, instead of pushing them away, you look at them and explore them and study them on your own first.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because you're aware of it. It's really, one, believing that it's possible and having faith in something that you may not have experienced before. So that real commitment, that soulful connection, that support, that mutually inspiring relationship that is bigger and better than you've ever experienced before. So really being able to believe in that, but also being able to be completely listening to you and knowing you in what I call 100% concentrated you. So if you guys know what I mean, being willing to be 100% concentrated you means that you're not people pleasing. You're not being in a persona or wearing a mask of the person you think you need to be to go on a date with this other person or to be dating in general. It's about just being you. And that's where the inconvenience comes, because when you're just being you, then you are committing to listening to your heart and then responding from your heart, which may not be popular with your outside experience necessarily, but it's really critical in finding meaningful love.
Yeah, and it's interesting how your perspective can change too, because I remember sort of vaguely the inconveniences that I had with dating, and then when I found you and we started to date, it all just became a blur. It was like, all right, I don't even remember 90% of the bad or difficult or frustrating aspects of dating. All I remember is the good stuff, and I remember meeting you. So there's this perspective
There's
shift.
hope.
There's this perspective shift where you really need to keep that. I was talking about keeping your eye on the prize.
Yeah.
And I know that if you find the right person, you're going to look back and go, that I would have gone through all that and more. It was totally worth it. All those inconveniences and challenges and pushing myself and working with the fear and getting out of your comfort zone, all that stuff, like it is with any time you're going through change. And you get to the other side of it, and you're like, wow, well, that wasn't so bad, and that was worth it, and I feel like I'm a better person for it, and you're proud of yourself for pushing those boundaries, and it's all good.
Yeah. So we're really encouraging, having courage, really. Having courage to be you is part of where that inconvenience comes from.
Having courage to be human, really.
Yeah.
Because it's part of our being a human being to have those difficult emotions and to have the courage to work through them.
Right. Because when you feel that resistance and you feel that like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. But if you know deep in your heart that you long for that kind of meaningful connection, trust that. The only thing that really matters is what's in your heart. And this is all about living wholeheartedly. So embracing, your pure desire, but also embracing the fact that, there may be parts of you that are hard to embrace. And so that's something that in relationship and meeting people, the inconvenience can show up as those triggers and frustrations, neuroses that you maybe see in other people, but actually the pain and the trouble that you're experiencing with, I don't like that about that person, also comes with wisdom for yourself. So,
and those neuroses are also part of what makes you, the beauty of what makes you who you are. So embracing that is about opening up your heart to your own self, and then being able to then make it easier for you to open up to others.
Right, so embracing that, accepting it, and working with it, and knowing that there's deep wisdom there. So the other thing that I want to share is so if you are struggling with dating, some of the blocks that you'll see. So, I mean, one way to deal with this is to get support. So for me, I work with women who are longing to be in meaningful relationships and are not sure how to get there. And when you have that trusted support, it can be really helpful in moving through these blocks. So I wanted to share some of the blocks that, might come up so you know. So thinking that there is the right time to date or to get into a relationship. If your heart's longing for a meaningful relationship, then it's the right time. You don't have to listen to your mind trying to logically put this together. No, just following your heart is one. Ooh, we're having some animal situation. That's inconvenient. And not wanting to invest the time and resources it takes to find partnership, which it does. It takes commitment. In order to call in a committed relationship, you have to be willing to commit to yourself, willing to commit to your heart, willing to commit to opening up your mind, heart, schedule, and resources so that you can get there.
And to be vulnerable as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, and then not being a people pleaser, letting go of people pleasing is also essential, because when you're people pleasing, then you are moving from a place where you think you know what's going to keep the peace, and then you're avoiding that feeling of inconvenience. So I encourage you to let go of the people pleasing and get back to 100% concentrated you. And then the other thing is, if you're experiencing some pain from past relationships or fear of the future, then that also is a block to love, because that keeps you out of the moment and keeps you from being able to really hear what your heart is saying. And then the endless stories that tell us why we can't have love. We don't deserve it. We're not skinny enough. We're too old. Or, I hear every excuse in the book. And if you have a nudge for love, you deserve it and you can have it. So it's really just about listening to that. Anything that comes from the mind is only going to limit you. So if that's you and you're ready to call in your perfect partner, like Larry and I are lucky to have found each other, then reach out and write me at macy@bighappylove.com, and we can talk about how you can create this amazing relationship in your life.
There you go.
So I hope you found this helpful. Welcome inconvenience in dating, and you will be able to move to a more elevated experience of love.